You can rely on alumni. Following the release of her most recent podcast, JoyAnna Duggar Forsyth is receiving a great deal of attention. She recounted some painful anecdotes about her family, particularly around the time when things broke apart after Jill and Jinger launched their books. The 26-year-old woman related these memories. On the other hand, it also illuminated a realization for her concerning her beliefs. Another thing that JoyAnna discussed was the horrible dating custom that her family has always followed. Continue reading to find out what it would be. According to JoyAnna Duggar, her family is going through a difficult time. When JoyAnna went on the Unplanned podcast, she discussed a number of issues, one of which was about one of the most difficult periods in her family's history. According to the former cast member of Counting On, Jill and Jinger's writings against the IBLP caused them a great deal of unnecessary stress. My siblings and my parents and all of this stuff was extremely difficult at that time, she recounted, referring to the fact that her parents were publicly criticized for a period of time following the publication of the memoirs. In fact, the mother of three admitted that she had been wondering whether or not everything that has been occurring to their family was actually happening. However, she was also grateful that the memoirs written by her sisters had in some way helped her to have a better understanding of her views. There is a horrifying dating tradition that JoyAnna remembers. Additionally, on the same podcast, JoyAnna Duggar Forsyth discussed the horrible dating practice that her family has been following for generations. According to the former star of Counting On, her father would routinely submit hundreds of men who expressed interest in dating his daughters. He further mentioned that some of these men were even incarcerated at the time the petition was submitted. Later on, she disclosed that Michelle had to read a large number of letters from guys she did not know virtually every day. She stated that Michelle had to do so initially. She went on to say, "It is obvious that my mother would read them first because she would be thinking, this is weird, but after that, we would all laugh about it." While this was going on, Austin disclosed that Jim Bob had a screening procedure in place for potential suitors for his daughter's dating. "This is obviously when the show was still blown and going," he said, adding that it was the reason why Jim Bob wanted to have a connection with him for a month and a half before allowing him to have his kid. "This is obviously when the show continues to blow and go." JoyAnna Duggar admits that she broke the rules for the first time with Austin Forsyth, and the audience goes wild. While participating in the same podcast, JoyAnna Duggar Forsyth revealed the story of the first time that she and Austin disobeyed a rule that was associated with courtship. When Austin was driving his truck, she reportedly grabbed his hands for around 15 minutes, as stated by the former cast member of Counting On. In addition to JoyAnna's brother, Jim Bob and one of his sons were present, and their father was informed about the event. It was acknowledged by JoyAnna that her father appeared to be dissatisfied with the result. However, it appears that the occurrence never caused it to become a significant issue. JoyAnna Duggar, one of the well-known siblings from the Duggar family featured on 19 Kids and Counting On, has always been viewed as one of the more grounded members of the family. Her journey through life, marriage, and motherhood has captivated fans of the famous TLC family for years. However, in recent interviews and social media posts, JoyAnna has shed light on a less glamorous part of her upbringing, the strict and often horrifying dating traditions imposed on her and her siblings by their ultra-conservative parents, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. Growing up in the Duggar household meant adhering to strict guidelines, particularly when it came to relationships and courtship. The family's deeply religious beliefs, rooted in a fundamentalist form of Christianity, dictated much of how the children were raised, especially regarding gender roles, modesty, and interactions between the sexes. For JoyAnna, navigating her way through these courtship rules was not only challenging but, at times, terrifying. The Duggar family's courtship rules. Before delving into JoyAnna's recollection of her experiences, it's important to understand the broader context of the Duggar family's courtship rules. For the Duggars, courtship was seen as a sacred process, a way of finding a spouse that was centered around accountability, purity, and family involvement. Jim Bob and Michelle often described it as dating with a purpose, where the ultimate goal was marriage. Unlike traditional dating, courtship in the Duggar household was heavily monitored. Couples were not allowed to be alone together without a chaperone, and physical contact was kept to a minimum, often limited to side hugs, hand-holding, sometimes only after engagement, and the first kiss reserved for the wedding day. Emotional boundaries were also enforced, with couples encouraged to focus on friendship and deep conversation rather than infatuation or physical attraction. While these rules were presented as safeguards to protect the children's hearts and preserve their purity, many, including JoyAnna, have since revealed that the pressure and expectations were overwhelming. JoyAnna Duggar's courtship journey. For JoyAnna, her journey into courtship came when she met her now husband, Austin Forsyth. The couple's courtship and subsequent engagement were featured on Counting On, giving fans an inside look at their relationship. On screen, the process appeared wholesome and sweet, with both JoyAnna and Austin expressing their mutual respect for the Duggar courtship model. However, behind the scenes, JoyAnna has since opened up about the immense pressure and fear she felt navigating these strict traditions. In a candid interview, JoyAnna recalled her initial excitement when Austin expressed interest in courting her. Having known each other for years through their families, JoyAnna felt a sense of comfort and familiarity with him. However, once the courtship officially began, reality quickly set in. "I felt like I had to be perfect," JoyAnna shared. "There was this overwhelming pressure to not make a mistake, to not cross any lines. Every interaction felt like it was being scrutinized not just by my parents but by the entire family and even the public. It was terrifying." The role of accountability partners. One of the more controversial aspects of the Duggar courtship model was the use of accountability partners. During the courtship process, couples were required to have a chaperone present at all times. This chaperone, often a sibling or parent, was tasked with ensuring that the couple adhered to the strict rules set by Jim, Bob, and Michelle. For JoyAnna, the presence of a chaperone wasn't just awkward, it was stifling. It felt like there was no privacy, no space to just get to know each other naturally, she explained. Every conversation, every moment was observed. "I remember times when Austin and I would be talking, and I'd forget we were being watched, only to realize that someone was right there, listening to everything we said. It made it hard to be ourselves." The accountability partners also played a role in monitoring the couple's emotional connection. JoyAnna recalled being advised not to become too emotionally attached too quickly. "I was constantly being told to guard my heart, to not let my emotions get the best of me," she said. "But how do you build a relationship without emotions? It felt like a contradiction." The fear of defrauding. Another aspect of the Duggar dating tradition that JoyAnna found particularly troubling was the concept of defrauding. In the Duggar family, defrauding was a term used to describe any behavior that could potentially lead someone to have impure thoughts or feelings. This included everything from the way a person dressed to how they interacted with members of the opposite sex. For JoyAnna, the fear of defrauding someone became a constant source of anxiety. "I was always worried about whether I was doing something wrong," she admitted. Even something as simple as making eye contact for too long or laughing too much could be seen as inappropriate. It was exhausting trying to navigate all these unspoken rules. The pressure to maintain modesty and purity extended to every aspect of courtship. JoyAnna recalled being given specific guidelines on what she could wear, how she should sit, and even how she should speak around Austin. "There was this constant focus on not drawing attention to myself in any way that could be considered flirtatious or suggestive," she explained. "It made me feel like I had to suppress who I was." The emotional toll. The emotional toll of these courtship rules was significant for JoyAnna. While she loved Austin and was excited about the prospect of marriage, the process of courtship left her feeling drained and at times isolated. "I remember feeling so much pressure to do everything right, to be the perfect daughter and future wife," she said. "It felt like I was constantly being judged, not just by my parents, but by the whole world." This pressure was compounded by the public nature of her courtship. As one of the more popular Duggar siblings, JoyAnna's relationship with Austin was closely followed by fans of Counting On. Every move they made was scrutinized by the media and viewers, adding an extra layer of stress to an already intense process. "There were times when I felt like I couldn't breathe," JoyAnna admitted. "I was so worried about what people would think, about whether I was living up to everyone's expectations. It was hard to enjoy the process when I was constantly second-guessing myself." Breaking free from the tradition, while JoyAnna ultimately married Austin and continues to adhere to many of the Duggar family's values, she has also started to forge her own path. In recent years, she has become more vocal about her experiences growing up in such a strict environment, and she has hinted that she and Austin plan to raise their children with more flexibility when it comes to dating and relationships. "We want our kids to have the freedom to make their own choices," JoyAnna said. "I don't want them to feel the same pressure I did. I want them to know that it's okay to have emotions, to build relationships naturally, and to make mistakes along the way." JoyAnna's decision to speak out about her experiences has been met with a mix of support and criticism. While many fans have applauded her for being open about the challenges of growing up in such a strict household, others have expressed concern that she is distancing herself from the values that made the Duggar family famous. Despite the backlash, JoyAnna remains committed to living her life on her own terms. "I love my family, and I'm grateful for the values they instilled in me," she said. "But I also believe that there's more than one way to live a godly life. Austin and I are figuring out what that looks like for us, and we're doing what we believe is best for our family." A new perspective on courtship. As JoyAnna reflects on her courtship experience, she acknowledges that, while the process was difficult, it also taught her valuable lessons about love, commitment, and communication. "In some ways, the courtship model forced us to have deep, meaningful conversations early on," she said. "We had to get to know each other on a spiritual and emotional level before anything else, which I think laid a strong foundation for our marriage." However, she also believes that there are healthier ways to build a relationship. "Looking back, I think there could have been more balance," she admitted. "It's important to have accountability, but it's also important to allow couples the space to figure things out on their own. You can't micromanage love." Today, JoyAnna and Austin are happily married with children, and they continue to share glimpses of their life together on social media. While they still hold many of the same values they were raised with, they are also committed to creating a more open and flexible environment for their own family. "We're not perfect, and we're still learning," JoyAnna said. "But at the end of the day, we want our kids to know that they are loved, that they have choices, and that they don't have to be afraid to be themselves." JoyAnna Duggar's recollection of the dating traditions in her family offers a unique insight into the challenges of growing up in a world where relationships were heavily monitored and controlled. While she remains grateful for many of the values instilled in her, JoyAnna is also candid about the emotional toll these traditions took on her and her siblings. As she and Austin forge their own path, JoyAnna hopes to create a more balanced approach to love and relationships, one that allows for both accountability and freedom. Her story is a reminder that, even in the most structured environments, individuals have the power to chart their own,